Imagine finding two children wandering in your village, their skin an unnatural shade of green, speaking a language no one recognizes, and refusing to eat anything except raw beans. This isn't science fiction. This is a documented case from 12th century England that has baffled historians for nearly 900 years. Today, we're diving into one of the most enigmatic mysteries of the Middle Ages, the Green Children of Woolpit. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about medieval history. The year was approximately 1150, during the reign of King Stephen of England. In the small village of Woolpit in Suffolk, farmers were harvesting their fields when they made a discovery that would echo through centuries. Two children emerging from ancient wolf pits, primitive traps dug to catch wolves that once terrorized the countryside. But these weren't ordinary lost children. Their skin was completely green, not pale, not sickly. A genuine, vibrant green pigmentation that no one had ever witnessed before. The boy and girl, who appeared to be siblings, wore clothing made from unfamiliar materials and spoke in a tongue that sounded nothing like English, Latin, or any known European language. The villagers, naturally terrified yet compassionate, took them to the home of Sir Richard de Calne, a local landowner. What happened next became one of the most well-documented yet inexplicable events in medieval chronicles. What makes this story extraordinary isn't just its strangeness, it's that we have actual historical documentation. Two respected medieval chroniclers recorded this event independently. Ralph of Coggeshall, abbot of a Cistercian monastery, wrote about it in his Chronicon Anglicanum around 1189. He was a serious historian who documented political events and wouldn't risk his reputation on mere folklore. William of Newburgh, another credible medieval historian, included the account in his Historia Rerum Anglicarum in approximately 1189. He actually expressed skepticism about the story, but included it because it was the testimony of so many credible witnesses. Both chroniclers describe remarkably consistent details: the green skin, the strange language, the refusal to eat normal food, and what happened as the children gradually adapted to medieval English life. This dual documentation is crucial. These weren't village gossips or storytellers. These were educated men recording history for posterity, acknowledging the strangeness while insisting on the authenticity of witness accounts. According to the chronicles, the children's behavior was as mysterious as their appearance. For weeks, they refused all food except raw beans from the pod. They wouldn't touch bread, meat, or any cooked food. They seemed genuinely afraid of it. The villagers watched them slowly starve until someone offered broad beans, which they consumed ravenously. They appeared frightened and disoriented by sunlight, preferring to stay in shadows or dim spaces. Their eyes would dart nervously around the village, as if everything they saw was alien and overwhelming. The boy, younger and weaker, never adapted. Within months, he grew increasingly ill and died. But the girl survived. As she learned to eat normal food, something remarkable happened. Her green pigmentation slowly faded. Over the course of several months, her skin gradually turned to a normal, pale European complexion. She learned English, was baptized into the Christian faith, and eventually integrated into village life. And here's where the story becomes even more intriguing. Because when she could finally communicate, she told her story. Once she mastered enough English, the girl described her origins, and her explanation raises more questions than it answers. She claimed she and her brother came from a land called St. Martin's Land, where everything existed in perpetual twilight. The sun never rose there, only a dim, greenish light illuminated their world. All the inhabitants, she said, had green skin like theirs. She described a luminous land that could be seen across a broad river, always visible but unreachable. The people there were Christians who worshipped in churches, but they lived in this strange, twilight realm separated from the sunlit world. One day, she and her brother were tending their father's sheep when they heard beautiful bells ringing. Following the sound, they entered a cave or tunnel. They walked for what seemed like hours through darkness until they suddenly emerged into blinding sunlight, our world, near the wolf pits of Woolpit. Disoriented and terrified by the brightness, they wandered until the villagers found them. The girl eventually married a man from the nearby village of King's Lynn and lived out her life as Agnes Barr. Some accounts suggest she worked in the household of the bishop and was known for being rather loose and wanton in her conduct, a detail that adds an oddly human dimension to this supernatural tale. But what actually happened? Let's explore the theories. Modern theories. The rational explanations. Theory 1. Arsenic poisoning and malnutrition. Some researchers propose the children were orphans suffering from severe arsenic poisoning. Chronic arsenic exposure can cause a greenish tint to the skin, especially in malnourished individuals. Combined with hypochromic anemia from poor diet, this could explain the coloring. The St. Martin's Land could have been a delirious child's description of underground copper mines, where workers spent months in dimly lit tunnels. Copper compounds can also contribute to green skin discoloration. Strengths. Medically plausible explains the color change when health improved. Weaknesses. Doesn't explain the unknown language or unique clothing. Theory 2. Flemish refugee children. During the 12th century, there was severe persecution of Flemish immigrants in England. The historian Paul Harris suggests the children were Flemish refugees, whose parents were killed in conflicts near Bury St. Edmunds. The village of Fornham St. Martin lies near Woolpit. If these children were kept underground, perhaps in the extensive Grimes Graves flint mine system, with minimal sunlight and poor nutrition, they could have developed the chlorosis that gives skin a greenish hue. Their strange language might have been Flemish, and St. Martin's Land could have been their confused memory of Fornham St. Martin. Strengths. Historical context supports refugee theory, explains language and disorientation. Weaknesses. Still requires exceptional circumstances to explain the dramatic green coloring. Theory 3. The folklore interpretation. Many scholars argue this isn't a historical event at all, but rather medieval folklore about fairy or otherworld encounters. The Green Children motif appears in various European traditions as beings from the Fey realm. The green skin, twilight land, and emergence from underground perfectly match Celtic and English fairy mythology. The story might have been invented to explain the wolf pits themselves, or to provide moral instruction about Christian charity toward strangers. Strengths. Fits medieval storytelling patterns, explains supernatural elements. Weaknesses. Doesn't account for the sober, skeptical tone of the chroniclers, or why two independent sources recorded it. The psychological dimension. What fascinates me most isn't just the mystery itself. It's what this story reveals about the human need to make sense of the inexplicable, the trauma of the unknown. Imagine being those villagers. Your world operates on certainty. Crops grow, seasons change, God is in heaven. Then two green-skinned children appear speaking gibberish. Your entire framework of reality gets challenged. The villagers' response, taking them in, feeding them, seeking to understand, shows remarkable compassion in the face of fear. In an era of superstition, they could have killed these children as demons. Instead, they chose curiosity and care. The child's experience. Now imagine being that girl. Whether she came from a Flemish community, underground mines, or truly somewhere inexplicable, she experienced profound dislocation. Everything she knew, language, food, light itself, was stripped away. The gradual fading of her green skin becomes a metaphor for assimilation and loss. As she integrated into medieval English life, she literally lost the physical markers of her origin. By the time she became Agnes Barr, married and ordinary, her past existed only in stories people half believed. The modern parallel. We see echoes of this today in refugee experiences, in children removed from isolated communities, in anyone forced to navigate a world completely alien to their upbringing. The psychological cost of total displacement, losing not just your home, but your entire framework for understanding reality, is devastating. The Green Children of Woolpit remind us that human history is filled with the unexplained anomalies, and that our ancestors faced mysteries as perplexing as anything we encounter today. The lasting mystery. Nearly 900 years later, we still don't have a definitive answer. Maybe they were Flemish refugees who suffered from a rare form of anemia and confusion. Maybe the story is pure medieval folklore, embellished with each retelling. Maybe, and this is where skepticism meets wonder, something genuinely unexplained occurred in that English village in 1150. What we do know is this. 2 credible chroniclers recorded witness testimony about an event so strange that people struggled to comprehend it. The consistency between the accounts, the specific details, and the lack of moral embellishment suggests something real happened, even if we can't fully explain it. The Green Children of Woolpit exist in that liminal space where history meets mystery. They challenge our certainty about the past and remind us that not everything that happened can be neatly categorized or explained away. Perhaps that's the real lesson. Sometimes the most honest response to a mystery isn't a confident explanation, but a humble acknowledgement that we simply don't know. The green girl who became Agnes Barr eventually died, taking her secrets with her. But her story survived, passed down through chronicles, discussed by historians, debated by skeptics and believers alike. We may never solve the mystery of the Green Children of Woolpit, but perhaps that's okay. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to endure, reminding us that the past is stranger, richer, and more complex than we can ever fully grasp. What do you think happened? Was it medical phenomenon, refugee trauma, folklore, or something else entirely? Share your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into medieval mystery, subscribe for more deep dives into history's most enigmatic cases. Until next time, stay curious.